This is the Dery Brothers Tribecast, a podcast for diehard Cleveland Indians fans. Presented to you by WaitingForNextYear.com. Now, here are the hosts, Matt and Todd Dery.
Oh yes, complete game, Shane, and a sweep of the LA Angels. Welcoming everybody another week of the Dery Brothers Tribecast. Matt Dery, Todd Dery on WaitingForNextYear.com. Brought to you by the Center for Advanced Dentistry. A sweep of the Angels. All things are good in Indians country. 21 games over 500 after a 6-2 win today. Shane Bieber was lights out. Todd Dery in attendance today. And why don't you just sleep there, man? This is unbelievable how many games you went to this week.
In attendance all week, baby. Come on. You're right. I was taking up some residency in section 157. It was a great week and lots to talk about. Great crowds, great enthusiasm at the park. And again, after that Houston series, which was, with the trades and the pitching situation, and I'm sure we'll get into Danny Salazar, to come back this weekend and sweep the Angels and do it in dominating fashion was very, very, I feel optimistic about this team. This is the best I felt about the Indians all season. I don't know about you.
No, I mean, you have to feel good about the lineup, certainly, and it's longer, and now you got Kipnis in the 7-hole, and he's seeing a lot of pitches, and he's whacking a lot of pitches, and Puig in the 4th spot, already a crowd favorite. And certainly today it was all about, getting some timely hits, the solo homers. Todd, the Indians hit 7 home runs this weekend. I think a majority of them were solos. A lot of solo pizzas being served up. And then, Shane Bieber was fantastic again today. I mentioned complete game. That's his second in his last 5 starts. 9 innings, 5 hits, gave up a couple of runs, 8 Ks, no walks. And while we talk about the lineup, and we'll get into the Bauer deal some more as we touched on it on the emergency pod on Wednesday, but you still got to have the starting pitching, and it certainly will be tested this week against the Rangers, who are coming in for 3. They can rake. And, of course, a huge series in Minnesota Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, where the Twins hit the baseball. So that pitching will get tested this week as the Indians are getting Corey Kluber back probably next week or the week after.
I was looking back to see how long it's been since the Indians swept a team where all 3 starters have pitched as well and got the win. I mean, I know wins don't matter, and I'm a proponent of kill the win, but you have to go back. I went back into the first half even of the season to see if that had happened, and it hadn't. I mean, this weekend you saw absolute stellar starting pitching. You got Clevenger. I went Friday night. He was absolutely filthy. They couldn't touch him. It was interesting because in the first inning he gave up the home run to Trout, and I said, "Oh God, here we go." Once again, I'm in attendance, and the other team, scores a homer in the first inning as usual. But he went 6 1/3 and gave up 3 hits, 1 earned run, 8 strikeouts, and the only run he gave up was that homer to Trout in the first. And the Indians were up 7-1 after 3, which was great. And then you go into last night, Saturday night, Adam Plutko, who again, you never know what you're going to get from him. He is really a fit starter. Kind of you would say probably kind of 4A-ish. But again,
a ham and egger?
Yes, ham and egger. Pitched into the 6th, only gave up 5 hits and 1 earned run and only threw 87 pitches. And when he got into trouble, Tito smartly went to Nick Goody, who got out of the 6th there and did a great job. And then Whitgren, Ali, Simber in hand, took it home in the 7-2 win. And then today, like you said, Bieber, complete game, was money. And these were, I'm not going to say they were laughers, but I can't remember a series recently where it wasn't a 1-run game or a 2-run game here and there. The Indians were very dominant this weekend. It was great to see.
It was, and the Angels are terrible, and Brad Ausmus's team is banged up. I have no idea.
I wouldn't say they're terrible. Terrible is strong. They're under 500 for the first time in a couple of months.
Yeah, but
they're not playing great, and they have a lot of injuries in there. But that lineup is still pretty.
It's not bad. I mean, Mike Trout's there. Calhoun's hit a bunch of home runs this year. Had another one today. I think he's got 25 now. And you're right, Pujols still, at times. Yeah, Ohtani's good, but they're so maybe let me rephrase that, and I think you're right. they're so injury riddled and they're banged up and they got a lot of young players. And then Justin Upton got hurt. They're horrible defensively, and so Justin Upton in left is kind of like a Castellanos type. Out there. And so the Indians had to take advantage of that. Remember, this was an Angels team that lost 2 out of 3 at home earlier this week to Detroit. So, and it started Friday, and this made absolutely no sense. And Tom Hamilton was just railing on it, but they started with that opener situation. They were going to go to that Peters kid Friday night, who actually didn't pitch all that badly and went the rest of the way. But that Cole guy that started the game out of the bullpen Friday, the Indians are up 4-0 before, or 4-1 before you could even get in your seat Friday night. And that was just a stupid move by Ausmus because you start a lefty against the Indians all the time. Although now with Puig and Reyes, that should change a little bit. And the Indians have actually done better against lefties this year. They'll be tested against a very good lefty tomorrow. We'll go over all the pitching matchups with Mike Minor going. But that was a break. But like you said, you're right. I mean, it was enjoyable baseball. It was fun to just kind of wax a below 500 or at 500 team. But now here comes Texas off a 3-game sweep this weekend of the Tigers, and then the Twins, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. But let's start with Lindor because, honestly, he just, I think you put it in a tweet this weekend. I don't remember what day it was. Just Frankie is God. He is. Now over.
Right. It was Saturday night, yeah.
Now over 20 home runs, and I think he's 6th in the league in hitting. And man, oh man, you just forget how good. I think we take for granted how good he is.
I couldn't agree more. When he hit his homer today, and I looked up, he had 20. You forget he missed a month.
Yeah,
he's got 20. He's going to end up with 30 homers again. Right now his OPS is close to 900. He's in the top 10 in batting average. Obviously playing Gold Glove, shortstop. This is probably. Because and when it's early still in his career and he's still young, but this is probably going to be the best player that we've ever seen in an Indians uniform. I would if he stays on this trajectory. I mean, yes, Albert Bell was an unbelievable hitter in his prime. Manny Ramirez, unbelievable hitter in his prime. We had Hall of Famer Robbie Alomar, for a shorter period of time, obviously, and he was already. On the wrong side of 30 when they got him. He's still a great player, don't get me wrong, but
Casey Blake. I'm just kidding. Sorry, I don't know.
Sweet Luis Valbuena, may he rest in peace.
I can't believe he died. I can't believe he died.
Laporta. Yeah.
Home run, Matt Laporta. That's right.
Home run, Matt Laporta.
It's our first Al TV reference of the evening. Maybe of the season. Maybe of the season.
In all seriousness, he is such a stud. And, I hate, to go back to the enjoy him situation. Actually,
please don't.
Game, I won't. Actually, today I was at the game with the executive producer, Jeremy, and he and I were having this conversation, and he said, I'm putting this, I want this put out there on the record. He said, it seems the way the Indians' trajectory is going, most of these guys that are high priced that they currently have will be off the books. And by the time Frankie comes up, his contract comes up. And maybe they have so much young talent, and the guys they do have signed long-term are signed for such relative money that maybe they will just end up throwing everything on him and playing basically Frankie, J-Ram, and they'll have the young starting pitching that's going to make nothing, and Hand will be off the books, and all these other expensive pieces will be off the books, and maybe in 3 years he will stay around and they'll throw him a crazy amount of money and just pay nobody else. Who knows?
No, I think he's the type of generational talent that you had that if you lose him, you're going to lose. You've already lost some of the fan base. There's still plenty of Indians fans out there, despite the attendance spike lately and everything else, that still doesn't believe in this ownership and is refusing to give. I'm not going to give Dolan a dime of my money. Okay, whatever, old bit. But regardless,
he can take my money as far as I'm concerned. I love it.
Right, it's fun, and the team's good. And I understand the Browns are coming up, and I saw something today, a video of OBJ signing somebody's license plate because they already have an OBJ 13 license plate, whatever it is. I get it. And Baker Mayfield did his routine last night, which actually kind of pumped up the Indians and the crowd. But no, Lindor has to be signed. He has to be brought back, whether guys are coming off the books or not, and how fiscally responsible they are and what market they're in. You cannot let a guy like that walk out of here. You cannot have that day where the headline in the paper is Indians trade Lindor to wherever. It would just be such a black eye on the organization. It would be another log on that bad fire that the highlight reel stuff where they show Mesa and they show it's just, I don't know. He's just so good, and I brought him up to now because we spend so much time talking about the stuff that we're pissed at and everything else. Here on the podcast, on the Tribecast, and this weekend was just a prime example of how dominant of a player he is and how he can slap a ball down the left field line for a double, whether against Houston this week, or he can hit a ball deep. And let's be honest, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday this week in Minnesota, what if Lindor goes in there and dominates and we take 3 out of 4? It would be because he's that good, and it sets the table for everybody else. And as Andre Knott said on this podcast last week, he pushes Jose Ramirez to be better. So, man, he's good. And I figured that's where we'd start tonight.
I think we, like you said earlier, we almost take it for granted. We haven't talked about him that much because he's so great and because there's other things. He's so steady. He just continues to do his job. He has hit in 9 of his last 10 games. And he had, last week, he had 3 straight 3-hit games against Kansas City. This week, in that 10-4 game against Houston, he was 3 for 5. He had 2 hits Thursday night, 2 hits Friday night. Had a homer yesterday or Saturday, homer today. He's a stud. We're lucky to have him. It's just that simple.
And you just brought up Kansas City. Thanks a lot, Yost. God, you guys suck. Couldn't even get 1 in Minnesota this weekend. Couldn't even get 1. The Twins' lead is still 3.
Weak.
Even today, down 1-0 to Smeltzer. They go to the pen in the 7th. I'm game casting it up in the car. And, not Renfroe. Dozier strikes out, and then Soler strike him out, throw him out, double play. It's like, come on, Kansas City. Couldn't you win 1 game this weekend? Thanks for nothing. Thanks for nothing.
Thanks for nothing. Yeah, exactly.
A little Caddyshack for you. Just brutal.
Yeah,
This division's terrible. And you know what? I've been saying the division's going to get better, and I like Kansas City's 1 through 6. And the White Sox, I know Moncada's hurt, and they're kind of fading now. But they're going to be good down the road. You really just look at it here as we're still in 2019, Todd. This division is so bad.
Yeah,
oh, my God.
3 teams are absolute garbage. I mean, it's
garbage.
Yeah.
Did you see the return? By the way, did you see the return the Tigers got for Castellanos and Shane Green this week? I mean, oh my God!
Al Avila is about as good as his job at GMing as Hugh Jackson was as being a head coach.
Oof.
Yeah, I mean,
man, oh man!
Did you see that thing? There was the other thing that I saw this morning that came out. Who was your boy in Detroit who wrote the article about how the
Anthony Fennick. Anthony Fennick.
Yeah. The Tigers turned down both Alex Bregman and who was the other
Javier Baez.
Yeah, and Javier Baez for Michael Fulmer 2 years ago. Now Fulmer has had Tommy John surgery and has never been the same.
Yeah,
so,
yeah. It'll be a long time before the Detroit fans are celebrating Tiger wins with some White Claw. I had to get my first White Claw reference in. You got to love
Zach Jackson, Mr. White Claw, loves that one. So wait,
it's everywhere. It's everywhere.
It certainly is. So to close the loop on Frankie, he's looking even better because now all of a sudden when you have Yasiel Puig hitting 4th and Franmil Reyes hitting 6th instead of Kipnis in the 4-hole and God knows who hitting 6th, all of a sudden your lineup is real deep, which brings me to Jason Kipnis. 7-hole Kip is far superior than the 4-hole Kip. Cleanup Kip. What a weekend he had, huh? I mean,
sprayed it, again, hit it hard all weekend.
Yeah, 2 biggest hits of the game. He's hit safely in 8 of his last 10. And you know what else? All of a sudden, he made a couple of plays in the field today and it died, but it was fantastic. And I know this is going to sound ridiculous. He just looks like he's having more fun and has more energy and has a better vibe about him.
I agree. I thought you were going to say, do we bring him back next year on a 1-year deal? A 1-year team friendly deal.
Today. I literally thought about it on the way home today when I was listening to the highlights and Hammy, or it was actually Rosie, home run, Kipnis. And I was thinking, you know what?
Best middle innings man in the game.
I love Rosie, big Rosie fan. But what if next year they didn't have a solution and they said to Kip, here's $2 million for 1 year? He's not going to get that anywhere else, right?
He might not.
Why wouldn't he come back for a year?
He might not. And what the market's been playing out the last couple of years of free agency.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Well, you look at the future at second base, and you're talking about, all right, there's 3 names. You move Jose Ramirez over there, and Nolan Jones is your third baseman. You've got Ernie Clement at Akron, who's just such a winning player and a scrappy guy, but is he ready yet to be a major leaguer? And then Yu Chang in Columbus, who's been healthy lately and is hitting the ball well with the Clippers when I pay attention. That's probably your answer. So, yeah, if you said to Kipnis, if he ended the season solidly and the team made a run, come back like you said for 1 year and $2 million, why would he say no? Seems like he's having a lot of fun, and it's interesting seeing certain guys that seem more relaxed this weekend and not distracted by certain other teammates, former teammates who are no longer on the roster. Man, this Bauer shows up and we look. I'm not going to bag on Trevor Bauer because he was our guy, but man, he shows up to the game with a backpack on the other night and was standing in the stands. That could not have made many of the current players very, very happy.
Well, I heard from 2 different people inside the organization, and Hammy actually said it on the air the other day.
Oh, Hammy's no holds barred. You should have heard his rant. I got to give you his rant on Danny Salazar today.
Yeah, well, we'll get. I definitely want to talk about Danny, but he was killing Bauer for it. He basically said these guys did not appreciate him showing up with his camera crew in the middle of the game and having the impromptu press conference and being in the out in the corner and shaking hands and all that stuff. I mean, personally, I think that is like some baseball, unwritten rules shit. Like, who cares? But why? I don't know why they would be bothered, but I can see why they think it's Bush League.
Wait a minute, his camera crew.
Yeah, he was being followed around by his camera crew.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah,
but he did. But he had already done the really good video. It should have been over with.
I was just going to say the video he put out. Was
great,
fantastic, so well done. I loved it, and I don't have any. Listen, politics aside, we don't need to get into that, but I was a big fan of Bauer's. I was a big defender of his when the finger thing, the drone incident happened, and everyone wanted to kill him for it. I said, look, you know what? These things happen. That's his hobby. If he cut his finger when he was cooking, nobody would give a shit. But since he cut his finger on the drone, it was the biggest deal in the world. And all those things happened for a reason. And it didn't I'm not going to say it didn't affect it anyway, but that whole thing happened the way it happened in 2016 for a reason. And yes, the Indians should have won the World Series, but that had nothing to do with Bauer and the drone incident with his finger. He was always my guy. I loved his intensity.
I like him too. No, I got no problem with him.
That shit coming off the mound with the fist pumps and the yells.
Sure,
that was our guy.
He had a passion for the game. He loves the game. He loves to win. You could tell with the video that he put out this week that he loved being here. There were certain teammates of his, Clevenger, Bieber, a couple of LA guys with him, and Nick Goody were his friends. But it's pretty obvious you could also see some of the guys that probably are glad to see him go. And now you look at it, this is a test this week of a Bauer-free Indians, because you're facing the Rangers who can hit and the Twins who are ahead of you, and you've got to win some games there. And basically in the Rangers series, you're pitching Aaron Savali, Zach Plesac, and Clevenger. And then against the Twins, you're pitching Pletko, Bieber, Savali, and Plesac. I mean, if I told you the biggest series of the year, and you're not going to have Kluber, you're not going to have Carrasco, you're not going to have Bauer.
Not Clevenger either.
And no Clevenger, and we'll miss Martin Perez for them. But that shows the depth this organization has. Eli Morgan had a really good start for Akron the other night. So there's guys even coming, but this is a test of not having Bauer this week when they're going to need some innings from their starters for sure.
Well, and you mentioned Aaron Savali, who will now be pitching Monday night against the Rangers. And the reason for that is because we can segue right into Danny Salazar. I was there Thursday night to watch the Danny Salazar experience.
Tasty.
That was one of the weirdest, strangest, oddest, whatever you want to call it. It was out of control bizarre, that game. He came in, and I'm assuming if you listen to this podcast, you saw that game. But the way he was throwing the ball it was almost like he was throwing a dart, and he didn't want to overthrow it. And you and I have long discussed Danny Salazar, and that everything seems to be in his head and not so much physical. It's all mental with him. But what I saw right off the bat, all the reports were that he was hitting 92, 91 in Columbus and looked fine. And then he came up in the first inning, and everything was 87, and the changeups were 78. And it was smoke and mirrors for the 4 innings, and he gave up the 2 solo homers, and he got – I
don't know how against that lineup it wasn't 10-0.
I totally agree. But it was so bizarre. And then the next day, it's the groin injury, and he's put on the DL. I don't know about you.
It's over.
You think it's over?
It's over. I mean, it's definitely over here in Cleveland, but he's got a lot of issues, and it's sad. I'm sad for him. Because if you're going with all this gusto in Columbus and you're pitching with your legs and your arm and your entire body and torque and all that other stuff and that's how you pitch. And like you said, it was almost like he was standing at a bar, standing behind a line, aiming a dart at a board, having a White Claw. You know what I'm saying? Or a Great Lakes, whatever. That's I'm just trying to be Clevelandy. They still have Zima, by the way. Anyway, so seriously, that's what it was. Todd, I stopped watching Thursday night because I knew we were losing. And then Brad Mills was managing. No Francona. Oh, it was almost like the Indians said, let's just fuck Thursday. Let's just get to the weekend. That game, I stopped watching that game. And I never stopped watching.
It was a total giveaway game.
It was a mail-in.
They were just going to give this game away. They knew they wouldn't beat Garrett Cole. But it was 2-1.
Right.
After Tyler Clippard pitched those 2 scoreless innings to get into he pitched the 5th and the 6th.
Right.
And it was still 2-1.
Still gettable.
And it's a 2-1 game. And Mills brings A.J. Cole into the game.
No. Tyler Olson.
No, it was
Cole first. That's right. Yeah, Cole first and then Olson. Yeah.
Cole pitched the 7th, gave up 2 runs to get it to 4-1. Then they bring in Tyler Olson. Olson gives up the 3, and then for the last out of the he threw 40 pitches. This is the other thing that's bizarre. Cole threw after Cole, Olson came in, threw 40 pitches, faced their entire lineup was right-handed except for Brantley and Alvarez, and after the 40 pitches, he brings them out, and then he brings in Whitgren for 1 out. If it's 2-1 in the 7th, why isn't Whitgren entering the game then? Something was amiss in that game. I think they had a script. They were going to use Salazar, Clippard, Cole, and Olson and hopefully get through it. And then we come to find out the next day when everybody and their mother, you have been calling for this since April, is get rid of Olson, that Olson gets put on the DL. He's had
shingles.
Shingles for 2 months?
I had him.
For 2 months with shingles? What is going on here?
It's painful, man. I had him on my forehead. You remember that a couple years ago?
I do.
It's painful.
But
it drags you down. I have no idea what that was.
I don't know. That game was
bizarro world.
It was spring training. It was like a spring training game.
But as far as Salazar, let's go back to that for a second. Number 1, I think his days are done with the Indians. Number 2, if you listen to the game today on the radio, which I did for a lot of it, Hammy was just he was going ham, no pun intended, on Salazar, just dropping bombs. Because there was the delay with the injured Angels pitcher, or as you said on Twitter, he had to go to the bathroom.
God. Wait, hold on. We need to talk about that. keep going. Finish your thought, and then I'll talk about it.
So the delays going on is Barra or whatever his name is. Barria, sorry. Jaime Barria, who, by the way...
Jaime, the circus in Barria.
Okay, so he won 10 games for the Angels last year, and then he's been on the Salt Lake shuttle. All right, anyway. That's some late-night Angels action for you. Big Fly, Mike Trout. I forgot the guy's name, Jose Mota. But anyway, and Mark Gubiza. Good broadcast. So Salazar, they're talking about Danny Salazar, and Rosie's going through the injuries with Hammy a little bit. And Hammy goes, I don't know about you, Rosie, but are they sending him to Goodyear to rehab? No. Is he here with the team? No. He's rehabbing at home. They send him home to Tampa. And Rosie's not saying it. And then Rosie started putting stuff.
See, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah,
he sent him home to Tampa.
And Hamilton's like, I just don't know. He said, They put him on the injured list with a groin injury. It's interesting how that groin just sort of flared up, and when it flared up, because he was hitting 92, 93 in Columbus, and he was scheduled to make the start Thursday, and they said he injured the groin in his bullpen session before the game. I mean, just Hammy was just killing him. But
I can tell you that
Tito didn't want him up there.
I was going to say I've had people tell me that this was not something that Tito wanted at all. Andre Knott said this in the A to Z podcast at the end of this past week that there were a lot of people in that clubhouse that were not thrilled about Salazar's return. With all of his injuries and all the stuff that I over the years with him in not being able to throw hard anymore and whatever it might be, there were a lot of people that did not trust him. And the way this locker room has tightened up and become so close, and them ridding themselves of Bauer, I think the last these guys wanted was the Danny Salazar distraction.
But unfortunately, let me cut you up. Unfortunately, the front office paid him $4 million, picked up whatever.
4.5.
What's that?
4.5.
4.5. It's like when you and I grew up and Dad yelled $1.1 million at Andre Thornton every time he struck out. And he could probably hear him because there's nobody in the stadium.
It was in my head when you were about to say it. Like, I was literally thinking that.
Well, we're the same person. But Salazar, my guess is the following. Tito calls Antonetti and Chernoff on Sunday after the Bauer episode, says, get this fucking guy out of here. I've had enough. And they're like, okay, we can get him out of here, but we're going to need a starter on Thursday, so we're going to give Danny a shot. And I'm sure Tito's like, ugh, okay. You get rid of this of number 47, I'll give you one start with, the mental midget. And, that's probably how I see it. I think Salazar got his shot. I think the front office probably told ownership, I know what you're paying the guy, 4.5. We got to give him a look. He looked pretty good in Columbus the last couple times. And then they gave him a spin on Thursday and the groin. And, this poor guy. Is the groin really hurt? Because that's the thing. How many tests did he have on his arm when they told him everything was fine years ago? It's weird. It's very weird.
It's very weird. This harkens me back to two things, which both tie into Grady Sizemore. One being, I believe this will be the Juan Gonzalez 2005, where he made the team out of spring, started the season, first at bat of the season, ground ball in Minnesota in the Dome, pulled a hamstring, never saw him again, and that was the end of him. And then the other one was in 2012, the Indians gave Grady Sizemore $5 million, and he didn't play one single game. And it was the stupidest $5 million you could possibly have spent, and everybody knew it, and they gave it to him anyways. It's the same thing as the Indians picking up this $4.5 million lottery ticket when you're looking to shed salary and you're giving $4.5 million to a guy that you can't count on at all. And it turned out to be a mistake. But luckily for the Indians, their pitching depth is unmatched, and we will see Aaron Savali Monday night making his second start as an Indian. Another guy in the fast track in the same draft as Bieber and Plesac. And, he made that start in June against the Tigers, 6 scoreless, 2 hits. I think he struck out 6.
Yeah, he was terrific.
He was great. So we'll see. It'll be interesting to see what number he wears because he was number 66, which is now Puig's number.
How much does the crowd love Puig? I know you were there all week. I mean, that dude is just out of his mind. He's fun. He's fun as hell.
2 things I want to mention. The first night that Puig and Reyes both made their debut, they were warming up on the left field line, and I was in my seat, and the national anthem came, so everyone stopped, and they stood next to each other with their hats off. And Puig, as you know and I know, the guy's a monster. He's a huge guy, super jacked, not afraid of anybody. It looked like, for those who don't know, Matt is like 6'4", and I'm 5'7", and it looked like super jacked Matt Dery standing next to me. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, but you're the one that's.
I couldn't believe how big Reyes was.
You're the one that's jacked thanks to Groove Ride.
but Reyes was such a monster.
He
but
is.
That said,
he's huge.
Every time Puig has come up this weekend, or he makes a play, the crowd loves him. He's immediately one of the favorites. I mean, I put him up
That's
there.
what happened in Cincinnati. They were worried in Cincinnati what he would do coming over from L.A. on a one-year deal, and would he just mail it in and be a dick? And he embraced Cincinnati, and they loved him there for a half a season.
It was like we got a rock star baseball player added to the team. I mean, I was very. I mean, listen, everyone's excited and it's new, but Puig's got some real magnetism, and there's something going on there.
And he's a good player.
Yes.
I mean, Reyes, like Reyes is 2 for his first 14 or 15, and I get it. He's
struck out 4 times today.
Yeah,
he snapped that bat over his knee.
That dude is monstrous, and he's having to adjust to being a DH, facing new pitchers that he's never seen before, and he's young. You know, he's 23, 24. Puig's been around. You know, this isn't his first rodeo, so I think it's going to take the Franum a little bit of time, but look, I'll still take that lineup with how it's constructed and going Puig, Jose, and Reyes 4, 5, 6. It slides everybody back, and I know Naquin's been dealing with 15 different injuries, so Luplow bats 9th today. He doubles a couple of times. Lengthens that lineup, man. We'll take it.
How about Luplow? 2 hits off right-handed pitching today.
Good for him. He deserves to play once in a while. Why not? He's been good. You
know what else is great? Having Puig and Reyes now, the lineup is pretty much going to be the exact same thing every single day. It's going to be the same, basically, I'm not including the day that Plawecki has to catch, but it's going to be the same top 8, and then 9th will be either Luplow or Naquin. It's right? Nothing's changing.
Yeah, I'm fine with it. Go for it.
Me too.
What about Tito? What about Tito, though? He's got to get his boy Freeman in there sometime.
Well, Freeman will play every once in a while, but even so, I mean, it's nice to know where everybody's going to be, and I think it's probably nice for these guys to know where they're going to be and that they're set in their spots. I know Ags. We were texting a little bit with our buddy Ags this week, and he was thinking he wanted to flip flop and put J-Ram in the 3 hole other than Carlos. But I think Carlos, the way he's been swinging the bat all year, you can't touch that.
No.
Where it is.
I like him where he is and sees a lot of pitches. By the way, Dery Brothers Tribecast for another Sunday evening here. Brought to you by our friends at waitingfornextyear.com and, of course, our new sponsor, the Center for Advanced Dentistry, Dr. Ben Hornstein and Company. When are you going back for a little cleaning with Dr. Ben?
Oh, I had my cleaning a couple weeks ago. I'm getting my tooth fixed next Tuesday. Week from Tuesday, I'll be back in there to get some laughs, talk some tribe, and get my tooth fixed by the great Dr. Ben Hornstein.
It is pure comedy.
CFAD.net, by the way.
One more time.
CFAD.net, Center for Advanced Dentistry.
I love it. All right, let's do some pitching matchups. I mentioned before.
Before you go into the pitching matchups,
please.
I wanted to talk about the story today that happened with the Angels pitcher. So I've never seen anything like this. So Jeremy and I are at the game. We're sitting there, and Berea waves in the trainer like something's wrong, and then he comes off the field. And normally when that happens, not normally, every time that's ever happened, the guy comes off the field. That means he's out. It's an injury, and he's got to come out. Well, we're sitting there. 5 minutes go by, 7 minutes go by. There's no pitcher coming onto the field. I don't understand what's going on. And then Berea comes back out and emerges and starts pitching again. So literally this was the conversation going on. Jeremy and I are like, what's going on? The guy behind us and the woman next to us, we were having a conversation of what could possibly be going on. And someone's like, maybe he has diarrhea. And he has to...
Right. Yeah, but if he had to go to the bathroom, wouldn't he have sprinted?
Well, that was the whole thing. We couldn't understand. Like, did he rip his pants? What? I don't understand. I can't believe that the umpires allowed a 10-minute delay in the middle of an inning, and it turned out that it was
something with it. It was something with his cleat or something. That's what Hamilton was saying.
But how can you just take a 10-minute break in the middle of the game?
Well, remember Oliver Perez?
NFL, would that have ever happened?
Didn't Oliver Perez come out for a game against the Tigers this year with no shoes on? Remember that? Like had the wrong spikes on.
It was last year.
That was last year?
Something with his shoe. Yeah, but they made him change his shoes because it was the wrong color. The umpires.
Yeah.
this was the most bizarre thing, but the best was we were having this big conversation in our section with total strangers, and everybody was on the same page, which was he must have had a terrible stomach ache.
Yeah, maybe it's some bad tacos or something.
Bad tie, yeah.
Bad tie, that's right. Who knows?
All right, so now we can go into the pitching matchups. I wanted to get that out there because everyone was so nice and everyone thought that Berea had diarrhea.
I was leading you into a Barrio plug there, but that didn't work out very well. All right, pitching matchups. All right, so Texas comes into town, like I said, just had a sweep of the Tigers this weekend, but I think Lakewood High School could sweep the Tigers. Savali against Mike Minor tomorrow.
I see something different than that.
Well, Gerardo was going to. He was going to pitch Monday, but the Minor's on his fifth day, normal rotation.
Okay, got it. Because I was going to say I see that Gerardo pitching tomorrow.
It's Minor tomorrow. Gerardo on against Plesac on Tuesday, and Lance Lynn. Lance Lynn, do you know Lance Lynn, Todd? I know you hate him. 14 wins this year. He has 14 wins.
He's got 170 strikeouts in 148 innings.
Against Clevenger Wednesday afternoon at 1:10. And you'll beat that one, right? That's a layup.
I can confirm that I will be there Wednesday afternoon.
And then, by the way, the Rangers coming to town means that the number one batting average against at Progressive Field is coming to town. Who is that? Who has the highest batting average against us at Progressive Field? Who has the highest opponent batting average against the Indians ever?
We're talking pitcher.
No, we're talking what hitter has the highest batting average against us?
Elvis Andrus.
Yes, there you go. 415.
45-game 45-game hit streak against us or something crazy like that.
415 lifetime average at Progressive Field.
415.
Yes.
And that's over a long period of time.
I hope he gets like a sore throat or a head cold or something. That dude is just a beast, especially against the Indians. And then the big series weekend 4-gamer at Texas or at Minnesota. Pletko against Kyle Gibson Thursday. Shane Beaver against Devin Smeltzer Friday. He pitched very well today, the left-hander.
Nice of the Royals to get any hits off of him.
What a joke.
Smeltzer. The Indians faced Smeltzer earlier in the season. I was there, and we knocked him around pretty good.
Wasn't there a Smeltzer that we knew back in Cleveland?
I knew we went to camp with Molly and Sarah Meltzer. Just saw them. I just saw them a couple weeks ago.
Okay, let's focus here. So, green and white.
You know who's going to love that? Friend of the pod, Brian Snyder and his son Alex, who are big fans of the podcast.
He has children? Brian Snyder has kids? God, I'm getting old.
Brian Snyder has, of course he does.
I'm getting old, man. Aaron Savali. Green and white. Aaron Savali on Saturday against Jake Odorizzi, and then Sunday Zach Plesac against Jose Barrios. Man, this is going to be a war next weekend. I got to dial in. I don't even know what I have going on, but I got to dial in. Whew.
Yeah, that really is going to be a great series. I'm looking forward to it. The Twins let the Indians right back into this race. They're clearly out to show that they're, still in command. I think it's going to be, it's going to be interesting to see, the way the Indians are. And the other thing is the Twins added a couple of relief pitchers at the trade deadline, Sergio Romo and Tribe Pinata Sam Dyson, who made two appearances. I think he got one out and gave up 6 earned runs and then was immediately put on the DL. So their bullpen, which is still their biggest issue. They really just added one arm, and who knows about Sergio Romo? He doesn't throw hard anymore.
Buxton's hurt too. He's out.
Yes, we will be. Yeah, we won't see him.
That's a break. So. That's a break. He's a good player.
Yeah, absolutely. But the way they hit home runs, and they're missing Clevenger, which is a big deal. And this goes back to the whole Danny Salazar thing. They could have started Danny Salazar on Friday and moved Clevenger to Thursday, which would have kept him on his normal rest. And then you would have had Clevenger pitching against the Twins. I don't know why they did what they did. That's still a big head scratcher to me, but needless to say, they're going to miss Clevenger.
3 back, and obviously still top the wild card standings. It's going to be, let's say the Indians don't win the division. I know you hate having this conversation with me, but you figure it's the Indians, it's the Rays, and it's the A's. 3 teams for 2 spots. I know Boston, is there, and everybody thinks they're going to make a run. But I look at it, and Tampa's playing well right now. Oakland University's own Mike Brasso hitting home runs for the Rays. Shout out to the Golden.
Playing second base. Yeah.
Shout out to the Grizzlies. Yeah, he's an Oakland guy. Shout out to Greg Campy. I don't know why I said that. He's the basketball coach. But so those 3 teams. Oakland added a bunch of relief. Oakland's just. Man, all Billy Beane wants to do is add relief pitchers. Every year at the deadline, he just trades for a bunch of relievers. So they're a good team, too. Oakland scares me. Every time we play them, I just think Matt Chapman's going deep or Olson's going deep against us.
They had 2 late-inning wins against Josh Hader last week, and which is not easy to do. They got a nice bullpen. Liam Hendricks has been really good for them.
Trevino.
Trinan, Trevino. They got Jake Diekman at the trade deadline, who's been, solid left-handed reliever. So they're decent. I mean, do they scare me? No, but I would much rather play Oakland or Tampa than play Boston just because it's Boston. But I still think this division is there for the taking. The way the Indians are playing, it's just, if we can just get through these next couple weeks relatively unscathed and within striking distance, I think that they'll take it down. But, like you said, you got the 3 with Texas, the 4 with Minnesota, and the next 2 weeks after that is the 3 with Boston, and then the 6 or 7 games in New York between the Yankees and the Mets. And the Mets are playing unbelievable great ball.
The Mets are they're back. Team D's own Mike Conforto and Jeff McNeil are raking, so that's helped me in fantasy. But yeah, those guys are actually getting it together. Although the Mets have always been kind of a laughing stock all year with all their moves that they've made, but they're getting hot. And the Twins play the Braves for 3 while we're playing the Rangers. And Atlanta, come on, help us out here. That's a good Braves team.
All right, Atlanta.
There you go. What about Shane Green? He's been giving up bombs.
First blown save right away.
And today in a 3-3 game gave up a 3-run homer to Tucker Barnhart.
I just looked it up. Smeltzer started against the Indians on June 4th and pitched 6 1/3 and gave up 5 earned runs, and 4 home runs he gave up.
All right, so we've seen him. That's good.
Yes, we have seen him, which is good.
All right, man. Well, so you're going to go Wednesday? Any other nights you're going?
I am indisposed Monday and Tuesday.
Are you flying to Minnesota? I'm just kidding.
No, but I am trying. I'm trying to get to New York. Let's just put it that way.
Really?
I don't know if it's possible, but I'm trying to get to New York potentially.
Write it off. It's a business expense for the podcast.
You don't even know what a write-off is.
Oh, man. All right, that'll do it for us for another week of the Dery Brothers Tribecast after a 3-game sweep of the Angels, 21 above 500. Remember, we were just killing this team when they were below 500 in May. Season's over. They blow. It's been a nice turnaround for sure.
29 and 30 at one point, and now they're 21 games over 500. Listen, as much crap as we give Tito for some of the lineups and all that crap, you tell me another manager that is going to turn this program around the way he has with all of the, essentially you've lost your 4 best starters at some point in the season, and to have them where they are is a true testament to not only Tito, but the front office. They've done an unbelievable job.
No, they have. And speaking of turning programs around, next weuk we'll talk about Les Miles in Kansas. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know why I said that. Yeah, he's a program changer.
Yes, he is. I'm looking forward to seeing what Les has in my alma mater this year.
How many
finally pay attention to our football?
That's what I was going to say. Todd is a Kansas grad. I love when people call it Kansas University.
It's University of Kansas, KU.
How many Kansas football games have you watched over the last 10 years? 1? 2?
1, and I'll tell you what it was. When they one in the last 10 years. It was when they played Oklahoma, and when Baker did the crotch grab.
When they played in the Orange Bowl, we watched that game at. It
was 08.
We were at somewhere watching it. It was the Wing Place. Come on.
But that was more than a decade ago.
Where were we? Where were we watching it though? We were at
the Lizard.
Yes, we're at the Lizard up on the east side.
I don't know. All I know is
I just remember watching. Who was that white? Who was that white wide receiver you guys had that had a big game?
Oh my God, Kerry Meyer.
Yes.
Todd Reesing to Kerry Meyer.
Ooh, that was big time.
Yeah, the missus had a shirt that they sold that year at KU football, and it said "Thank God for Todd." And I got it for it. Because Todd Reesing was the quarterback.
That's good stuff. That's good stuff. How's training camp going in Berea? All right, that'll do it for the Dery Brothers Tribecast.
Oh, wait, hold on. Before we go, I just want to say one thing. You bring this up. What Baker Mayfield did
sweet.
Saturday night, biting the beer can and shotgunning it was the friggin' coolest thing ever.
You woke up the crowd.
America's quarterback forever. He's the greatest. The greatest. Love him.
I'm saying 13 and 3. What do you think? I'm just kidding. They are going to be good, though.
It's going to be fun to watch for the first time in a long time. Since last year was fun to watch for the first time, but it's going to be great. I'm looking forward to it. We won't talk any more Brown.
No, this is a tribe.
We bleed, wahoo, red, white, and blue.
This is a tribe thread. All right, that'll do it for us. For the Dery Brothers Tribecast, August 4th and August 5th, and hope you enjoyed it. We'll be back next week.